I think I messed up. Wait, I'm sure I did. Welcome to Young Elder TV, where UFOs, religions, Anunnaki, and black youth collide in a cosmic comedy. Meet Marcus, our fearless leader. He's an aspiring scientist and part-time alien enthusiast. Then there's Maya, his sister, a no-nonsense lawyer who secretly believes in ancient astronauts. Oh, and don't forget Grandma Pearl. She swears she had tea with an alien once. And finally, their quirky neighbour, Mr. Thompson, convinced he's a reincarnated god. With 3 million fans already hooked, Young Elder TV blends laughs with galactic mysteries. Ready to join the fun? Hit that subscribe button and dive into the cosmic chaos. Young Elder TV, where the stars align for comedy. Imagine a world where the caretakers of the galaxy are feline humanoids. Meet the Avyonians, a majestic race from the Lyra star system. These noble beings, also known as the Sekhmet, stand between 3 to 16 feet tall and can weigh up to 1,800 pounds. Their skin is covered in a soft fuzz, and they sport long flowing manes, resembling Earth's big cats. Their eye colour evolves from blue to gold as they mature, and their golden brown skin can turn to snowy white. The planet Avyon, their lush and vibrant home, is 960 light-years away from Earth. Picture mountains, lakes, streams and oceans, a paradise much like our own planet. The Avyonians originally arrived in an etheric form and evolved into physical bodies over millions of years. They began incarnating into lion-like forms and eventually stood upright, blending their feline features with those of a bipedal mammal. This evolution gave rise to the Royal House of Avyon, led by King Tuni and his 7 sons. These feline beings are highly intellectual and warm-hearted, with elders revered for their wisdom and compassion. Sadly, their paradise was destroyed in a great war with the reptilians, forcing the Avyonians to escape on their mothership, the Avyon fleet. Now they live among various beings, including humans and good reptilians, on a starship in the Sirius system. The Avyonians have a rich history of genetic engineering and space exploration, playing a crucial role in the creation of humans in the Lyra constellation. They remain our loving guardians, evolving and exploring the universe while maintaining their regal and inquisitive nature. Stay curious, stay inspired, and may the stars guide you. The Avyonians, also called Sekhmet, and the feline race are humanoid aliens, feline species that resemble members of the Felidae family of Earth mammals. They can get up to 3 feet to 16 feet tall and can weigh as much as 1,800 pounds. Their skin is covered by a sort of soft fuzz, and though they don't have fur, they do have manes, and both the males and females have long hair. Their eye colour ranges from blue to gold, and can change from blue to gold as they mature. They also turn from a golden brown colour to white. They look like the feline or cat species on Earth. They come from the planet Avyon in the Lyra star system, which is 960 light-years away from Earth. Now, Avyon is not the exact pronunciation nor spelling, but it is close enough. The real name cannot be translated into English. Avyon was a paradise planet with mountains, lakes, streams and oceans. This blue planet was very much like our present Earth in form and variety of vegetation and life forms. When the felines arrived, they were in etheric form and therefore went through the stage of evolving into physical form in which to reside on their planet. After many millions of years, they evolved into lions and other felines and began incarnating into those forms. As part of the plan, a portion of the original felines stayed in etheric form, 7th to 9th dimensions, to provide guidance to those incarnating. Remember, this was a 3D-5D planet, and once the etheric felines incarnated, they would fall under the veil of amnesia that is part of the workings of a 3D-5D planet of free will. As time passed, and through countless incarnation cycles, the felines evolved a line of felines that walked upright and retained the consciousness of their etheric counterparts, thanks to the periodic incarnations of some of the etheric felines and DNA from a bipedal mammal similar to the ape that was evolving on the planet as well. They are the Royal House of Avyon, The leader name is Tony the Tiger, the Kellogg's owned by the Illuminati. Put him on front of a cereal box. He has 7 sons, Tevin and Devin the Dude, Tutti, Hugo, Leo, Tata and Mick. They were created by Anu about 40 billion years ago as a pet race for the Rizkians. They were created in the 7th dimension and they were created as light. They are a part of what you are calling the angels, mentioned in Revelation 4:7. As they slow down their vibration, they come down to a high 5th dimensional vibration. In the low 6th dimension, things began to take form. The 45 felines began a dynasty which became known as the Royal House of Avyon. The term royal was used to designate those families who had agreed to maintain a pure DNA strain for genetic upgrades. Not all members did so, but the patriarchs did marry their sisters to comply with this agreement. Royal also means those families who chose to take on the responsibilities of service to the community. Family members are trained almost from birth to uphold the rights of their people and serve the higher good of all. In this role, the members of the royal family serve the people instead of the people serving them. The king is the father of the people, bound by blood and oath to care for them. As a race, they are extremely close and have a great sense of fair play. The females are revered and honoured in equal status with the males. True to the feline way, they are all very curious and inquisitive. The Royal House of Avyon included many highly educated feline beings. Among them were skilled genetic engineers. It was through these individuals that help in the creating of the first humans that were created in Lyra. The overall feline temperament is warm, sanguine and intellectual. As they mature, they take on more of a somber, introspective and gentle nature. The elders are revered for their wisdom, compassion and insight. 16 billion years after being on their planet, the wars started with the reptilians. Their planet Avyon was destroyed. They left on their mothership fleet, which is called Avyon Fleet, which is some of the last of the remaining original flagships of the Galactic Federation Council from Lyra. It was built during the time of the first grand experiment on the planet Avyon, the first Earth in the Vega star system of the Lyra constellation. The Avyon motherships are smaller versions of Nibiru. Avyon is one of the few ships that survived the First Great Galactic War, which destroyed the planet Avyon as well as the colonies on neighbouring planets in the Vega star system of Lyra, where the humans had migrated. Those who survived the war were taken to Sirius C aboard the remaining ships still operable. The star you see as Sirius A is really Sirius C. Sirius was a 3-star system, but Sirius A burned out billions of years ago. Then Sirius B burned out after Nibiru passed by, it draining out its solar energy. Members of both the House of Anu and the House of Avyon live on Avyon at this time. This means that humans, good reptilians, felines, bird beings, and a couple more beings all live and work on this starship. As with Nibiru, Avyon mothership is like a very bright 8 or 6-pointed star. Its symbol is a winged horse flying through a triangle surrounded by a circle. This symbol represents Pelagai's level of access to all stargates up through and including the 9th dimension of our universe. Only civilizations that have achieved a great degree of integration is given this level of access to the dimensional stargates by the founders. With the DNA from the ape-like mammal, the felines were able to take on a more human-like body while retaining most of the facial features and other characteristics of the feline. It was from this crossing, when it reached a certain stage, that the genetic line known as the Royal Line of Avyon, or House of Avyon, came into being. The Etheric Felines would continue to take turns incarnating to provide not only DNA upgrading, but teaching and training in higher dimensional principles, lest their planet-bound brothers and sisters get stuck in the non-sentient animal incarnation cycle. As you can see, the felines evolved on Avyon in much the same manner as humans evolved here on Earth. The only difference is that the humans did get stuck in the animal cycle. More on that on the next class. In time, the conscious felines grew large enough in number to take on the responsibilities of planetary guardians of their home world. They continued to evolve and eventually developed the technology for space travel and then warp technology. Their etheric brothers and sisters continued to act as their guides, Many among them became geneticists, a feline specialty, and began helping to develop life forms of various kinds for planets and stars in the universe. Some among them became great space explorers and scientists of various kinds. It was during this stage in their development that the felines would turn their attention to that bipedal mammal they owed so much to, and begin a program of genetic crossing and upgrading that would give them a soul, and in the process create a new species that would become known as the humans. After numerous crossings and genetic upgrades, the Adamic human was made. There were two strains, the red-headed strain being the more outgoing and energetic, and the platinum blonde strain being the more gentle-natured and introspective. After many thousands of years of continued careful crossbreeding, the feline-human hybrids began to be more common in the royal line of the felines, the House of Avyon, than the purebred felines were. Yet this was the plan. In time, the purebred felines would become the ancient ancestors of the humans, with only their genetic traits as a reminder of the connection between them. And though the genetic relationship between the felines and humans has been forgotten by modern man, the felines remain in our consciousness as a regal creature, worthy of our respect and love. The felines remain the loving and supportive guardians of their genetic offspring, the humans. They have continued in this role through time and all dimensions of the universal game. Devin the Dude Tunisan, Feline, is the reigning patriarch of the 5D Royal House of Avyon, and Anu is the reigning patriarch of the 9D Royal House of Anu at this time. Some of the Avyon mixed with the Egyptians, Najaru, which is why some of them appeared as cats. We will talk about them later, except that they were a member of the alliance of 4 great races, along with the Rizkians, Blue Avyons and the Arcturians. However, occasional artifacts attributed to the Avyonians have been identified. Avyon's writing has also been seen in Heliopolis along with the writings of the other great races. It was discovered that the Avyonians had set up a utopian community for themselves and other beings who wished to join them, without weapons or advanced technology. The colony was destroyed by draconian reptilians who was able to smuggle in seeds for a plant that produced a paranoia-inducing chemical, causing the inhabitants to go insane and kill each other. The reptilians are responsible. The Avyonians appeared to be the mysterious race that helped seed the humans on Earth and possibly suggests that the touchstone was Avyonians' technology. The Maashan are an aggressive feline humanoid species, which developed an expansionist interstellar spacefaring civilization. Their hunting reflexes and instincts give them tremendous accuracy in battle, and they almost always attack first. Their most hated enemies are the Carrions, but they also greatly disliked the reptilians. In addition, they were on negative terms with the bear beings. Maashan technology favors the development of new weapons, but they struggle with construction technology. They come from the planet Fierias in the Leo star system. Source: Master of Orion. The Mephitisoids are a feline warrior, like feline humanoid species who developed an interstellar spacefaring civilization. They're from the planet Trilzart, third planet orbiting the star Sirene Omla in the Orion constellation. The Mephitisoids were very aggressive and had to be set down. The Mephitisoids were quarantined on their homeworld. They look like lean, furry humanoids with a tail, large ears, retractable claws on hands and feet. They possess night vision and acute olfactory senses and pheromone odors used to communicate and suggest action to others. Source: Marvel Universe X-Men #107, October 1977. The Prosaic Cats are a species of non-sapient Martian. They are native to the planet Mars. The Prosaic resemble flattened red mounds of fur with no discernible mouth, limbs or breathing orifices, but 3 small black eyes on one end of their bodies. They are nevertheless able to emit a purring reminiscent of a cat. They purr like a high-pitched buzzer. It had no discernible features, being merely a pie-shaped mass of sleek red fur, a little darker than Castor's own hair. They are kept as pets by some races who are more advanced. The Saberian from Saturn are a strange feline-like race, presumably indigenous to the ringed planet Saturn. Little is known about this species, which has been described as very large and peculiar compared to normal cats. The cats on Saturn crossbred with the owl beings. So, They have wings. They are flying cats. They have rainbow-coloured skin. They can get up to 18 feet tall. Little else is known about them. The Tharban is a large feline predator that is larger than a lion native to the forests of Venus. It has stiff, bristly hair that is reddish with white stripes going lengthwise on its body and has a black, horse-like mane. It has powerful jaws, and its three-toed feet are armed with sharp talons. It preys on the clunabargan and the basto. They have been seen hunting alone and in groups. The Dilgar are a species of feline-looking humanoids. They developed an advanced and warlike interstellar civilization. They began a massive expansion of their empire when it was discovered their sun was about to go nova in 208 from 2021. They attempted to invade most of their neighbouring worlds and slaughtered entire races and decimated planets such as Helix 7, Latig 4, Tyrolus, Comac 4 and Malax. They were driven back to their homeworld of Amelos and became extinct a few years later when their sun went nova in the future, 2229 AD. Felinoid humanoid species who developed a Pacific interstellar civilization. They are supposed to be among the longest-lived spacefaring culture of the Milky Way. They also possess time manipulation technology and can cure mental madness. The Cactus feline race of extraterrestrial from Uranus are a feline species related to the cats from Saturn, like the other cat species. More substantial than their Saturnian counterparts, the cactus from Uranus are hexapedal creatures with leathery orange skin dotted with reddish-brown spots. They have a long, whip-like tail with a sharp spike at the end. The horn-like protuberances on their heads contain sense organs that can detect heat as well as other sources of energy up to 40 kilometers away. While the Earth and Saturnian cat are inimical to each other, the cactus from Uranus prefer to keep to themselves and don't favour either side of the conflict. The Kilrathi are a race of warlike feline extraterrestrials. They come from the planet Kilra, a harsh and arid world in the Leo star system. Their society depicted as an empire. Physically, they are bipeds who strongly resemble big cats. They have leonine manes but also have markings, which distinguish their clan of origin. The Kilrathi's ancestors were among the most fierce predators of their planet, and due to the rise of sapience, they quickly became the dominant species. Intelligence itself emerged at first as a means to enhance the Kilrathi natural hunting abilities and to preserve them from the dangerous environment of their planet. They not only started to build tools and traps to capture their prey, but also shelters where to take cover during the volcanic eruptions that often rained acidic ash on the surface of Kilra. Due to their fierce territoriality and the growth of their communities, which required larger territories for hunting, the Kilrathi soon learned that creating weapons and traps to kill other members of their species was as easy as preparing new tools for hunting. From that point on, Kilrathi history is an extended chronicle of brutal civil wars, where technological discoveries played a key role in dictating which factions would rise and which would meet their demise. The advent of spacefaring technology simply enlarged the sphere of expansion of the Kilrathi and transformed dozens of planets into battlegrounds. Such intraspecies conflicts lasted until about 2 centuries before the period where the Galactic War took place. By then the Kilrathi were divided into 2 huge empires who battled to the death to establish who would rule over the whole species. The leader of the winning side was acclaimed as the first emperor of the Kilrathi after centuries of bloody wars. At this point, it was only obvious that such a power-hungry race would direct its desire for conquest towards other species, living in the nearby regions of space. The Kilrathi conquered many worlds without difficulty, as not one of their enemies had the force or the technology to compete with them. Kilrathi society is highly hierarchical. Essentially, the whole race is composed of an upper class of nobles, the Thrakra, and a lower class, the Kilrara. Thrakra and Kilrara are divided into Hrai, the Kilrathi word for clans. There are 8 Kilrathi noble clans whose members are part of the Council of 8, a political organization directly below the emperor. Throughout history, these clans have made a special effort to preserve the purity of their bloodlines. They are the Na Kakski, Na Karg, Na Kiranka, Na Ragitaga, Na Kira, Na Kurutak, Na Sutagi, and Na Sikag. A Kilrathi's future, both as a warrior and a citizen, is determined by their social status from birth. Only the nobles have a right to rule or command, and the common Kilrathi simply follow their leadership. The Kilrara clans swear allegiance to one of the noble clans, and throughout the generations, this servitude is passed on. Kilrara obey their masters in everything, and are not allowed to do anything without explicit permission. As such, one of the most important concepts of the Kilrathi culture is that of honor. Each Kilrathi must act so that they does not dishonor their race, master, or their own clan. It is not uncommon for an individual who has fallen into disgrace to commit zukara, ritual throat-slashing suicide. Such failures could range from dishonorable behavior in combat to unintentionally insulting a superior. The source for the belligerence and expansionist behavior, which are associated to the Kilrathi, has recently received an interesting new explanation. This is based on some hypothesis developed by research conducted during the Confederation clashes against the race codenamed Nephilim. The Tome of Sivar, an ancient Kilrathi relic, contains the so-called prophecy, whose writing is attributed to the prophetess Katlan. It foretells the coming of a dark age for the Kilrathi, Kunthrak, marked by the invasion from an unknown civilization, which is supposedly the Nephilim. According to Kilrathi lore, the prophecy could be connected with an encounter between this alien civilization and the Kilrathi themselves during their ancient history. The invaders deemed the Kilrathi unworthy of fighting until they had risen to conquer the other races in their sector of galaxy. It is thus possible that the aliens have purposely or inadvertently forged the Kilrathi lust for conquest by triggering their sense of honor. Kilrathi religion is based on the cult of the war deity Sivar, who is the only known Kilrathi god. Kilrathi females control all religious factions on Kilra and direct all offerings and religious festivities. It's interesting to notice that most of the worshipping and celebration of Sivar takes place simply by fighting, hunting and offering part of the captured prey at one of the many temples dedicated to the war god. The most important religious ceremony known in Kilrathi culture is the Sivar Eshrad ceremony, which is celebrated every year and preferably performed on newly seized territory, a fact that drives most Kilrathi wars and has caused the confrontation with the Terran Confederation. This ceremony is of utmost importance since it ensures that the Kilrathi instinct to fight and kill is directed outward to enemies rather than inward, with the risk of sparking heated civil wars between the clans. Another ritual is the so-called Pukal, which translates as Ritual of Atonement. This ceremony is performed with the aim of confessing any private minor dishonor to Sivar and receiving the god's forgiveness, thus avoiding mass suicide among Kilrathi who feel they have dishonored their clans. According to the Kilrathi themselves, the destruction of their homeworld caused by the Tembla bomb, with the subsequent death of billions of their species, is considered as a huge form of Pukal, through which the entire race expiated the dishonor of fighting with duplicity at the Battle of Earth in the future in one. Being such a belligerent species, the Kilrathi never developed a specific taste for art in the same sense as a human may intend it. This is probably also a result of the Kilrathi history missing some real periods of peace, where art and culture could flourish. What little the Kilrathi produced in form of orally transmitted or written art is obviously war-oriented. Myths of ancient Kilrathi warriors such as Karga the hero or Vorgath the hunter have been handed down next to songs, poems and reports of the deeds of past Kilrathi, emperors, nobles or warlords who particularly distinguished themselves during some of the many battles the Kilrathi fought across the centuries. However, within the Kilrathi, such works are not intended as art, but rather as teachings, especially for the young who can learn what is expected from a true Kilrathi warrior. Another example of this kind of Kilrathi literature are the well-known codices. This is a set of written principles with a profound value in Kilrathi culture, as they explain the Kilrathi concept of honor and serve to pass on the militant culture to the next generation of Kilrathi. Any other cultural aspect that in human civilization is usually related to art or aesthetics is mostly devoid of such concepts for the Kilrathi. Everything is built, produced or decorated according to strict rules of functionality. Kilrathi designers never developed an appreciation for order and symmetry, and therefore their designs are frequently asymmetric and discordant by human standards. The imagery used is iconic and bold, oriented almost entirely towards glorifying previous battles and intimidating foes. For example, dressings and warrior uniforms look unrefined, a peculiar mix of functionality and ornament, high-tech and primitive. Favorite colors for textile fabrics are reds, blacks and maroons, and the decorations are almost exclusively symbols and insignia identifying the warrior's clan and family. Metallic textures and elements of personal armor, used mostly by nobles, lean toward gold, copper and blood-red colors. Architecture is driven by these same principles of functionality and is adapted to the Kilrathi's peculiar taste for death and destruction. Kilrathi buildings bear evident resemblances to the primitive caves their ancestors used as lairs, since pillars and protrusions are often found rising from unlikely locations. Exposed machinery is common and ceilings are rarely enclosed, leaving cables and ductwork exposed. Details such as the dark lighting, high temperatures and low humidity favoured by the Kilrathi complete the description of their constructions. Decorations are minimal and mostly represented by trophies of war, such as pieces of captured or destroyed starships or the skulls of victims. In spite of such primitive principles, Kilrathi technology is very advanced, or at least on par with human technology. While their starships and fighters lack whatever could be considered as aesthetically appreciable to human observers, these vehicles are extremely efficient war machines, designed to be lethal. Kilrathi vessels are built with asymmetrical elements, protruding angles, weapons and engines placed in plain sight and often incorporate fang or claw-like curves and points, making them resemble ominous-looking blades or other melee weapons. This last detail is thought to be as much an expression of the Kilrathi visual taste as a form of psychological warfare aimed at intimidating their adversaries. Decorations are limited to ship markings, indicating the clan responsible for the ship's construction. In combat, the Kilrathi are strongly biased towards smaller numbers of powerful heavy fighters, coupled with swarms of swift but inferior light fighters. The Thrakra lords pilot the heavy crafts while the low-born Kilrara are assigned to fight in the light crafts. Despite this division, many Kilrara aces have emerged, some of whom have won acclaim with the nobility. Ace pilots are also authorized to fly customized fighters, mounting different energy weapons or loadouts, and can decorate their ships with personal markings. The Krangs are an aggressive, sentient feline species which developed an interstellar civilization. They come from the planet Krang. They have a strong militaristic culture and are bent on interstellar expansionism. They were involved with mankind during the event known as the Krand War. Krangs are bipedal, about 2 meters high, covered with brown fur. Their eyes are yellow with a red iris. Their hands and feet have 4 digits. They have a tail which seems to help them for balance. Krangs are very similar to the Khinti. The Khinti, also called the Thundercats, were a species of aggressive, carnivorous, feline humanoids from the Alpha Quadrant. Their homeworld was the planet Xin. The Khinti fought 4 wars with humankind and lost all of them. In the course of these conflicts, some Khinti fed on human meat. By the Treaty of Sirius, the Khinti were forbidden to eat humans. Khinti were bipedal digitigrade felines with orange fur, yellow eyes, pronounced fangs, ears resembling bat wings, 4-fingered hands and long tails. Males stood over 2 meters tall, with broad hunching shoulders and comparatively slender waists and limbs. Their internal anatomy included ribs with vertical bracing and multiple hearts. They breathed atmosphere similar to that of humans and Vulcans. As carnivores, they were acutely averse to the consumption of plants. Their physical attributes made them powerful combatants. Some male Khinti were capable of reading minds. The effort required was taxing and took time to recover from, often leaving such individuals unhappy and neurotic. There was no sure way to guard one's thoughts from such a telepath. but the experience could be made especially unappealing for the telepath by the subject concentrating intently on images which Xinti considered distasteful or alien, such as eating a raw vegetable. The Xinti were an aggressive, warlike race, disdainful of herbivorous species such as Vulcans, and with only marginally more respect for omnivorous ones such as humans. Xinti females were considered dumb animals, without intelligence, and Xinti males were thus predisposed to underestimate females of other species. Xinti placed great importance on individual honor, being obliged to seek personal revenge upon an attacker before calling for help. To be defeated or wounded and left alive was considered by them the ultimate insult, which could only be remedied by single combat to the death. The Xinti had superstitious legends about weapons being haunted by their deceased owners, of which some were frightened. The Xinti government was led by the highest of Xin. They had police vessels and related equipment for the enforcing of laws, but were disallowed all other weapons by the Treaty of Sirius, yet sought ways of circumventing this and rearming. Other pursuits in which Xinti engaged included archaeology and astronomy. The Nabooians are a feline race from the planet Naboo in the Centaurian star system. It is one of the closest star system to Earth. Naboo, pronounced Naboo, was a planet in the Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri is the closest star system and closest planetary system to Earth's solar system, at 4.37 light-years away. This is the first star system the Dark Fleet government went to. Keep in mind, this is the place, or star system, where the Centaurians, humanoid Nabooians, and the centaurs, which are half human and half horse, etc., come from. Naboo is the fifth planet out of 13 planets that orbit the binary huge stars. Alpha Centauri A and its brother Alpha Centauri B Centauri A is a new star just being born about 4.5 billion years old. Alpha Centauri B was born about 9 billion years ago. Alpha Centauri A was a planet that turned into a star. Naboo atmosphere is made of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide over 18%, xenon 5.5%, methane and hydrogen sulfide 1%. It's about 20% denser than the atmosphere on Earth, primarily due to the high percentage of xenon, a heavy, colorless, odorless and generally unreactive noble gas. The high concentration of carbon dioxide in the Nabooians' atmosphere makes it extremely poisonous to humans, rendering them unconscious in about 20 seconds and causing death in about 4 minutes when they venture out unprotected by specialized breathing masks. The hydrogen sulfide present is also quite poisonous. Concentrations over 1000 ppm, 0.1%, can cause immediate collapse with subsequent loss of breathing, even after inhalation of a single breath. The richness of varying colors, the trees resemble those of Earth. They have the familiar trunks, branches and leaves, though due to the difference in gravity, many of the shapes appear strange to humans and the proportions are greater because of the lower gravity. The trees and plant life of Naboo have formed electrochemical connections between their roots and effectively act as neurons, creating a planet-wide brain that has achieved sentience, which is known to the native, also called the Nabooians, or Navi, short for native, as Awan. Naboo is about 7,112.836 miles in diameter. However, due to the smaller size, its gravity is 20% less than Earth's. Due to Naboo's lower gravity, most creatures on Naboo are hexapods, 6-legged, although the native resemble humans and have only 2 legs. Creatures roam the air and forest canopy below, similar to Earth's animals but on a scale several times larger. Naboo has 3 moons. On Naboo they have floating mountains. The Hallelujah Mountains, also called Aram, alluding by the native meaning floating mountains, which are floating islands that circulate slowly in the magnetic currents like icebergs at sea, scraping against each other and the towering mesa-like mountains of the region. On Naboo's, huge outcroppings of unobtainium rip loose from the surface and float in the magnetic vortices due to the Meissner effect. The Meissner effect, or Meissner-Oxenfeld effect, is the expulsion of a magnetic field from a superconductor during its transition to the superconducting state when it is cooled below the critical temperature. They're overgrown with foliage at the top, and straggly beards of vines hang down beneath the mountains like the roots of air ferns. Their sides are sheer cliffs. Waterfalls originating on the mesa-like tops stream down the sides and disperse into spray at the bottoms like upside-down geysers. The mist then condenses on other floating mountains and flows over the side and disperses, renewing the process. The mountains are home to several tribes. The Na'vi, English the native people, are a race of sentient extraterrestrial humanoids who inhabit the lush jungle planet of Naboo. Humans are known to refer to them as blues, savages, the locals, hostiles, or the natives. The indigenous native can get as tall as 10 feet tall, with smooth, striped cyan-coloured skin ranging from blue, green and purple. They have large yellow eyes and long, sweeping tails. Their bodies are more slender than humans. They are really Nubian centaurians mixed with the feline beings, cat beings. The tigers mixed with the humanoid centaurians. A treaty was made between these two races billions of years ago. They have been on the planet Naboo for about 4 billion years. There is over 2,600 tribes and about 17 different types of animals. There are 12 huge tribes, which are the main tribes. The natives only have 4 fingers on each hand. Their counting system is based on the number 8. 3 fingers and 1 thumb. The natives have no words for numbers higher than Mevol, 16, the sum of all fingers and toes on their body. Anything more was simply called Pek's-I, many. Octal numbers can easily be confused with decimal numbers unless a numeral 8 or 9 is present or the number is followed by a subscript to indicate the base system used, 8 for the octal system or 10 for a decimal system. Most of the population is concentrated in rainforest regions. Outlying tribes have been detected on each continent and in subarctic, swampland and mountainous regions. There are cities on Naboo as well. Naboo is like Africa, with most of the country being bush or jungle on the Third World and some of it being city. Like we say, most natives live off the land. The natives are an omnivorous species. They eat meat as demonstrated by their hunting practices and pronounced canines, but have also been seen to forage, demonstrating their consumption of plants and other produce. Their society includes hunters and gatherers with incipient agriculture. Little apparel is worn by the natives. Cloth, most likely woven from native flora of the planet, is the basic garment worn by all natives. It is possible that very little clothing is worn by the natives because it is simply what is needed for the natives to work and live, taking minimally from the environment. Clothes appear to also show the ranking of one in the hierarchy of a tribe. For example, the Omaticaya tribe leader, Atukan, wore a garment made of brilliant or precious materials in comparison to a simple clothing piece worn by other tribe members. Accessories are added to a native's attire as he or she moves up in the clan hierarchy. They wore bracelets and necklaces to display his ranking. The Tipani tribe is unique in their use of armor, which is often made from leather and bone. They choose to live in harmony and natural equilibrium with their surroundings. The natives still use primitive weapons like spears, knives and bows. The natives have a queue at the top back of their heads which hangs down to or below the waist, while avatars have queues at the base of their skull. The queue is an external bundle of nerve endings that are protected inside a braid of hair. The queue allows the natives to tap into the collective planetary psionic emanations of Avyon and enables them to commune with the planet's plants and animals. While not adding to intelligence, it enables them to share a deep connection and also communicate telepathically with the Tree of Souls and any animals who have a similar nerve cluster. The natives call it Sahelu, or the bond. When 2 Nabooians organisms with nerve clusters similar to this engage in Sahelu, they gain the ability to share memories and information. The native have a special trait that allows them to use the mind meld to feel as what their mount does and enables them to move as one under the control of the natives, be it a banshee or dire horse. This trait is only negated during mating. They make love with these Q. The native are monogamous creatures who mate for life. The mechanics of reproduction are similar to that of humans and other Terran mammals. However, their unique physiology provides the Nabooians with a level of intimacy unknown on Earth. Cultural anthropologists believe that when an appropriate mate has been selected, which can take many years, the male and female natives will connect cues, called Sahelu, to create an emotional bond that lasts a lifetime. It's like getting married on Earth to your mate. The intertwining of cues is both highly erotic and profoundly spiritual, but does not in itself lead to reproduction. The planet has a lot of unobtainium, element 117, also called tennessine, under its soil. Unobtainium, pronounced unobtainium, is a highly valuable mineral found on the planet Naboo. Different races have visited Naboo to mine unobtainium for energy generators. The Dark Space Fleet, started by the world's government, want to get this mineral and began it back to Earth. The Dark Fleet was kick off the planet because they were evil and had greed in their hearts. Well, young Elder Gang, that's all we have for you today. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit that bell. This is Dr. Charles P. Winston signing out. Peace and love, Wadu, were aided by their long fin-like ears.